Hey, JJ,
Hmm.
my next guest is Joe Polish. What would you say in one sentence about my friend Joe Polish?
So he's another one I should have thrown into that mix because Joe has been such an amazing mentor to me. So when I talk about go-givers, and I have it right here, actually, his book, which everybody has to have this book. Like this book is the best book. It's his book, What's in It for Them. Joe Polish is the epitome of the go-giver. He is the most generous human being I have ever met on the planet. I love this man so much. He has been such a huge help for me and for so many people. He is the nicest, most kindest soul. He's got a really twisted, sick sense of humor, though. However, Joe is just, Joe is just fantastic. You are in for such a treat. Here, show the book again. It's called What's in It for Me. He runs something called Genius Network. I've been in it for years. Like one of the most greatest ROIs ever. And just I've met the most tremendous group of people. I think you're in it too, aren't you?
I am 7 years.
Yeah, it's been just a fantastic experience. Now, Tim is in it with me too. And, Joe is surrounded by incredible humans because like draws like. And he's just done so much for me. And he's one of those people that I know if something goes sideways, I can call Joe and he will absolutely, it's like, those people who get too big for you and they can't. And Joe, that's not Joe. Joe is absolutely just a stellar human and, will help me all along the way. And Joe, I love you. Thank you so much for everything you do.
I love you too, JJ. Thank you.
And nearly everything I just said was true.
So Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, JJ. All right. The moment many of us have been waiting for, amongst many moments from this past weekend. I'd love all of us with our wiggling fingers and our big smiles to welcome my dear friend Joe Polish to the stage. I'm going to read his bio because he's earned every single sentence that I'm going to read right now. And then I'll do a less formal introduction. So Joe Polish is the founder of Genius Network, one of the highest level groups in the world for entrepreneurs. He curates the annual Genius Network, which is a 25K program, and 100K, which is a $100,000 program. All three groups bring home some of the most successful entrepreneurs alive, and he is considered the most influential connectors in the world. Joe has also helped build thousands of businesses and generated hundreds of millions of dollars for his clients. He has been featured in Inc., Fortune, Forbes, Success, US News, and World Report, amongst others. And he has spoken at Stanford. Joe also hosts 3 of the top-ranked marketing and business podcasts on iTunes, including I Love Marketing, 10X Talk, and Genius Network. He's also changed the lives of many others through his charitable causes, including the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Artists for Addicts, Genius Recovery, JoeVolunteer.com, and as well as being the single largest contributor to Sir Richard Branson's charity, Virgin Unite. His documentary, which I had the privilege of being at the premiere of, The Joe Polish Story, premiered at the historic TCL Chinese Theater, and his documentary Black Star won the Audience Choice Award at the Sedona Film Festival. Joe's mission with entrepreneurs and Genius Network is to build a better entrepreneur, and his mission with Genius Recovery is to change the global conversation of how people view and treat addicts with compassion instead of judgment, and how to find the best forms of treatment that has efficacy and share those with the world. So I don't know how you do it all. You're going to tell us the secrets in the next 40 minutes or so, but what an accomplished and amazing and contributory life. You've done so much to help entrepreneurs like myself, people like JJ Virgin, people like Tony Robbins. Like, people call you in a crisis state. I bet you get calls like that all the time because you're the person that people turn to when stuff goes sideways. So not only do people deeply respect you for your business acumen, your entrepreneurial mindset, and the way you look at a problem and solve it, but they appreciate you for your generosity, and they appreciate you for your vulnerability, and they appreciate you for your friendship and your sense of humor. You're like the nicest, the funniest. Like you're all the S's in my life. You're like such a wonderful friend, and I'm so grateful that you've taken time out of your busy schedule. You just came out of a 2-day event of your own, and here you are on a Saturday to spend time with us. So thank you. And brother, I love you, and I'm so grateful our community gets to share some time with you today.
Thank you. Love you too. And yeah, it's great to be here. So, and everyone that is here, has gone through all stages of their life where they're probably kind and generous and awesome and amazing and contributing, and other times where you're in pain or depressed or self-serving or maybe arrogant or a whole mix, because it's a mixed bag of being a human. And being in business, years ago, I was at a talk with, I don't know, there's probably like 700 or 800 young people in the room, all wanting to learn how to market their businesses. And I had made a comment that if I would have known being successful was this much work, I would have stuck with being a loser. And, I said it just, kind of to be funny. And the truth of the matter is the process of entrepreneurship is difficult. Even though I teach people how to develop a elf business, which is easy, lucrative, and fun, you have to set up a lot of things in order to have the condition of an elf business. And oftentimes, a lot of people have half businesses, which are hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. And it's not just a business; it is life. Life, it has its journeys, and you're going to have your heart ripped out of your chest, and most people already have at some point or multiple times. You're going to be betrayed. You're going to have people that you thought had your back that don't have your back. As a matter of fact, they stab you in the back. And so there's a whole mix of stuff. And what I've learned along the way is that the more compassion, the more humor, the more lightness that you can bring to the difficulty of just simply being a human, is what helps you esteem yourself and weather many of the storms. So whatever I can say or do today that would be useful or helpful to everyone here that is with you, I would love to do that if I can be of any sort of usefulness. I will say that I am extraordinarily tired because we did a 2-day Genius Network meeting that was amazing that ended yesterday. And then we went on a 2-hour hike with, some of the crew. And that was led by one of our Genius Network members, Martha McSally, who's the first, female combat fighter pilot in the United States. And it was great. But man, when I was done, I was like, oh, but I'm so glad to be here, Sasha, because any nice thing that you said about me in the beginning, of course, it's a mirror to you, because you are one of the smartest, brightest, caring, most contributing person. You absolutely live the message of what's in it for them. And so I'm glad to be here. So let's ask me anything you want, and we'll talk about anything that would be most useful to everybody.
Okay. Well, I'd love to ask you a few questions, but I'd also love for us to crowdsource some questions as well. So this is a very rare opportunity for all of you that Joe has been so kind to help us curate. And I want your engagement and participation as much as we can. Joe, the question I have for you to kind of get us started is, as somebody who's very discerning with their health, because you live that message as well, and somebody who's an entrepreneur and somebody who's seen all kinds of bullshit that's out there, and then genuine healers and people who are, masters at what they do. Many of us may work with entrepreneurs or aspire to work with entrepreneurs. But what is your process when you're trying to choose a healthcare practitioner or someone to help you with your most important asset, right? You refer to yourself and us as the $1 million racehorse. So what's that process like for you when you're choosing who to seek help from?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I've sought help from a lot of different people. And first, do they walk the walk and talk the talk as much as you can tell, not just front stage, but backstage? Secondly, are they always a collaborative person? Because as you know, a lot of people in healthcare and doctors, they want to be the all-knowing guide that will, their advice is the best. And I've seen a lot of my friends. I mean, I know most of the famous celebrity doctors. A lot of them are clients or have been. A lot of them are friends. And what I often notice, not all, because there's some really amazing, well-known doctors, but the more that someone pursues status versus growth, they become less of being a good doctor and more trying to be a celebrity. And so I don't really like the influencer type of thing. I understand the value of it, but I don't try to pursue fame. I'd rather be well paid than well known. Some people would rather be well known than well paid. And it's nice to be both if you want to utilize influence and celebrity for that. The thing though is, are you do you start with a beginner's mind? And so there are some real experts. And by the way, you know, I mean, I'm dating a brilliant doctor. My partner is one of the top doctors and surgeons for her category in the world. And she's very much into peptides and exosomes and ozone and all kinds of other health modalities and whatnot. And the whole do no harm, you know, are the doctors that you're seeing doing harm? I mean, without having me go on a tangent over the last 3 years of the pandemic, you know, we could open up a can of worms here, but there has been a lot of quote unquote doctors that are doing a tremendous amount of harm, and whoever profits from the crime is guilty of it. So are you really caring about your patients? Are you treating them like a real human being? Have you developed, you know, compassion fatigue, where someone's really hurting and painful, you still treat them like a specimen versus you're sitting there with a real living, caring human being? So first off, do they live, you know, do they live the life? Do they do the things that you're suggesting you do? It's really critically important. I mean, that would apply to everything, not just healthcare. Take advice from people that actually live it as best you can. And are they empathetic? Do they really care about you? And the other thing, do they ask, who else are you working with, and what have we discovered so far that is working? And let's talk to that person. It's amazing to me how many people in healthcare are not collaborative. You've done all this work, you've done all these different tests with other people, and they don't even inquire about what have you discovered, what has worked, what has not worked. And do they have a what's in it for you attitude? You're the patient. You're paying them to advise you, not to have them lord their power over you. So the way that I would translate that is, do you vibe with them? Do you feel a real sense of care? Because I'll tell you, so much of the physical ailments that humans suffer from, and you know this, are psychosomatic. The vast majority of physical pain is not structural, it's psychological. There are real breaks, there are real tears, there's diseases, there are injuries, but a lot of it is truly stress. When you go to a doctor and you're hurting, do they ask, you know, what's your relationship like? What's your sleep like? You know, how are your kids? How's your career? Because there's all kinds of elements, from gut issues to depression to physical, mental anguish, that do not stem from something that shows up on a scan. It shows up as something that's in your, you know, you can identify certain things, but are they really a caring, connected human being? My whole thing is about connection. The more connected you are with yourself, the easier it's going to be to connect with others. It's very hard. Same with doctors. You know, are they really connected with what they're trying to help you with, and what's their track record? You know, I'll tell you, just simply looking up some reviews and talking to other people or reading what other people have experienced with someone is there's so many things you can find out about someone just by doing 5 to 10 or 20 minutes of research before you engage.
So our online presence obviously matters. Our integrity and alignment with our message matters. How we connect with that person and empathize with them and collaborate with others is something that also matters. Now, you know, one of the things that, you know, comes up and so these themes, you guys are recognizing a theme, right? Over the weekend, where you've got to be a product of your product. That communication and connection with your client is very, very important. And that ability to build rapport and resonance. And of course, you know, if somebody searches your name, what shows up, right? What is your online presence? Sometimes that precedes you, and you may never even get a chance to make that first impression. We're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow on how to optimize your online presence, but you can clearly see that this is very important when it comes to setting the stage up for your success. You know, Joe.
And I say to that too, you know, you don't build a great reputation by talking about what you're going to do. You actually do it by doing it. And if you have people that have been transformed by you being a doctor, by you being an advisor, by you being a coach to them, the best marketing will often be created by just happy people that have been transformed. And if you're in the transformation business, really, these are not just words that I'm saying here because they sound good. You can be in the transaction business or you can be in the transformation business. And if you really are able to transform someone, help guide and take them through a plan and a path, by all means, you know, utilize that. Don't ever use people, utilize people. No one wants to be used. I don't want to be used. I want people to utilize me. I love being utilized. I hate being used.
Mhm.
And so people will really appreciate just often presence, being present. And the doctor has to, let's go to the $1 million racehorse. What's the analogy? If you owned $1 million racehorse and every time that horse ran a race and it won, you'd make $1 million. Then the question is, how would you treat that horse? You'd have the best nutrition, the best trainers, proper rest and relaxation. You wouldn't have that horse up till 3 a.m, drinking and smoking, looking at porn online. you would take care of that horse. You'd have the horse well taken care of. You wouldn't have the horse hanging out with losers. You wouldn't have the horse in a toxic environment. And more importantly, you'd have the horse in the right races, because you never win a race you don't want to be in. So some games in life, the only way you win is you don't play. So there are certain things, you don't play games that no matter, even if you win, you lose. So if you're disengaged yourself, or you're overworked and you're stressed out, how well are you going to do advising other people? And that doesn't mean every once in a while. Like I said earlier, I'm tired today. But if I did this nonstop for a month straight, I'm going to be completely burnt out. But everyone here, professionals wait for inspiration. I mean, no, let's say it this way. Amateurs wait for inspiration. Professionals do it with a headache. And so there are often times where you got to show up and just do what you have to do. And you do that in doses, but it can't be a lifestyle. So I think the most successful people, the word success is so weird because it's not my job to tell anyone what success is. Success is someone could be a great body. It could be a deep spiritual practice. It could be being an amazing parent. It could be being a great artist. Some people's success is often associated with, money and how much money and status you have. Because in America, as an example, when someone says, what do you do? They're really asking, who are you? Because our identity is so wrapped up in that. So, if your identity is wrapped up in some sort of status success, you often become disconnected with the being and the person. So to be the $1 million racehorse and to really attract the very best clients is live a life that people would literally aspire to have. Be inspirational, not like gawking is like, oh my God, I want to be like that person because they, I see them with a bunch of cool people on Instagram or whatever. That's sort of a bit of fake flattery. It does work. I mean, people are certainly attracted to it, but it's not any more substantial than like, cotton candy and chocolate fudge will satiate a certain level of hunger, but it ain't nutrition. It's not real nutrition. You're not going to live off of it for long term without being really sick. So I think the way that one behaves is that way. So anyway, I just wanted to add those other thoughts to that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Speaking of food, because that was going to be my next question, you've done a lot of work around addiction. And, we have people here that may be addicted to work. We have people here that may know people that are addicted to substances, or people that are addicted to gambling, or people that are addicted to certain types of foods. And so one of the things that many of us may struggle with is we can give great advice, but if a person is struggling with addiction, I love your definition of what addiction is and how to uncouple it. So perhaps that could be very instructional for our coaches and our practitioners that are here who might be struggling with either themselves or their clients or a loved one who may be addicted, even though they know they shouldn't be doing it, but they're stuck in that loop. Where does that loop come from, and how do we break that cycle?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot of different ways that I've heard addiction defined. I've asked a lot of some of the world's leading addiction minds this question that's, I have online and lots of videos and stuff on geniusrecovery.org, which is my foundation. The simplest way that I would say to think about it is addiction is a way to soothe pain. Addiction is a solution to pain. When you have a war on drugs, it's the wrong war. It's like a war on addicts. Drugs are not the problem. They're the solution. They're a solution that has a lot of bad consequences that can come with it, that can destroy your life, that could make other people around you miserable. Drugs and alcohol are often what people think of as addiction, but there's all the process addictions, all the behavior addictions. And just for clarity, I was a very bad cocaine addict when I was, my worst state was when I was 18 years old. Cocaine is a huge dopamine boost. And so two things that cause addiction, I believe, there's many layers to this, but just I could speak for 2 hours just on this one question alone. And we're not going to do that. what I will say is that let me frame it this way. The number one killer in America and in many parts of the world is sugar first, tobacco second, alcohol third, opiates fourth. I became a marketer and a business guy, learned a lot of stuff about sales and persuasion, became a millionaire before the age of 30, all that jazz, but I never dealt with the underlying trauma that happened to me as a kid. And I got sober from drugs and alcohol, even though I wasn't an alcoholic. Was really cocaine was my core drug addiction, but my real core addiction was sexual addiction. And sex addiction is a intimacy disorder. And that came from being raped and molested as a kid. And I was paid money not to say anything. And so I was in deep pain and shame, didn't know how to talk to anyone about it, never talked about it for years. It wasn't until 2015 that I decided to just come out and in front of a group of Genius Network members at one of my annual conferences. I had a few billionaires in the room. I was like, this is either going to ruin my career or maybe it's going to be something. I just felt the need. I was ready at that point to talk about it. And I just got on stage and shared everything, shared about sleeping with prostitutes, being a cocaine addict, all of these things that had so much pain. And I'd already processed a lot of this in years of therapy, in years of groups and all kinds of stuff, but you're as sick as your secrets. And silent battles are the hardest battles to fight. And workaholism, I'm a classic workaholic, spent many years just full-blown workaholism. And it's very enticing. It's very, because you get a big dopamine hit from deal making or, giving yourself the belief that, oh, this is a healthy addiction. I don't believe any addictions are quote unquote healthy. Addiction is real human suffering. It is a craving that goes beyond willpower. And some of the hardest people that struggle with addictions are very smart, clever people that are very resourceful in many areas of their life. So they think they can outthink and intellectualize a trauma thing. So I believe addiction is a response to trauma, and it's biochemical disorder like dopamine. Well, my friend, Dr. Anna Lemke, she wrote a great book called Dopamine Nation that explains so much. For instance, everyone here, many people would know this since you have so many very smart doctors and health practitioners on. Chocolate gives you a 55% dopamine hit. Sex is 150%. Cocaine is a 225% increase. Amphetamines is 1,000% increase. So that's why speed and so many people consume amphetamine like substances. But let's take cold plunging, which is a healthy way to get a dopamine hit. It's a 200% increase. It's 50% more dopamine than sex. So getting into a sauna, getting into a cold plunge, physical exercise, getting into a state of flow, meditation, breathing, these are all healthy ways that you can, take your nervous system, which you can jack up with food and drugs and behavior and gambling and sex and all kinds of other things. But for the entrepreneurs that are here, which is almost everyone, my favorite definition of intimacy was given to me by an 80-year-old gay man that spends his life sponsoring people that have sexual addictions. And he said, intimacy is a mutual exploration of a shared safe place. Abuse is anything that takes away the safe place. And addictions are what we do to make ourselves feel good when we don't have a safe place. So if you don't feel safe in the world, you're going to look for a way to soothe. And drugs and alcohol and work and looking at the internet and doing all kinds of things temporarily give you a dopamine hit or, different biochemicals that you can speak to way better than I could, Sachin. However, the pain inside humans, the pain inside each of us is where we struggle. When people come to you as a doctor, they're in pain. The symptoms, most people treat the fruit, not the root. And the root cause for a lot of people is a deep internal pain. And we live in a culture where it's a pill for an ill. If you're a naturopath or functional medicine doctor, oftentimes here's a supplement. And sometimes those things do wonders because a lot of this is, it's biochemical, how you eat, what you have running through your system, how your gut is, what is it? 80 to 95% of serotonin is made in the gut, right?
Mhm.
And why are so many incarcerated people? 2.2 million people are incarcerated in the United States. 25% of the world's prisoners are in the United States. It's the highest incarcerating country in the world. 80 to 90% of everyone arrested is either on, drugs or alcohol were involved. You have all this stuff about shootings and murders and sexual assault. Well, 50% of people that are raped were intoxicated. 50% of people that are raping or assaulting someone are intoxicated. Same thing goes with people that are murdered. In many cases, it's more like 80 or 90%. And so murder and sexual assault has to do with inebriation. During Nazi Germany, I think they called it perpetine, but Nazi Germany invented crystal meth, I think, in 1932. And the majority of the German army, including Hitler, were consuming crystal meth every single day. And long-term exposure to amphetamines at that level, you sleep less, you're more aggressive, you fight harder, eat less food, and it removes empathy. So concentration camps and very violent things. The story that's rarely told, there's a book called Blitz that people can read about it. You can watch things on YouTube, Hitler's secret drug habit, High Hitler, like his HIGH. Hitler was high as a kite when he was doing those, motivational speeches that you see him screaming. He's whacked out on drugs. So much of wars right now, if you were to look at Russia and Ukraine, how much amphetamines are they feeding those soldiers? Because of food, because of sleep, because of aggressiveness. So much of the world is being driven by addiction and all of these symptoms and all of these fighting and stuff. A lot of the patients that are showing up, they have addictions, but we live in a world where you're looked at as a moral degenerate. So my goal is to change the global conversation about how people view and treat addicts with compassion instead of judgment, and find the best forms of treatment that have efficacy and share it with the world. And so I know that's a lot. I know I'm throwing a lot out there, and some of these are difficult conversations, and they really deserve longer reflection and time, and there's not real easy answers to them, but it boils down to pain and connection. The opposite of addiction is connection, and the more that you can connect with your patients, the more that you can connect with yourself, you're going to be a better friend, you're going to be a better leader. And I do believe, like the title of my book, What's in It for Them, if you have the empathy and the ability, and you're a true giver, you want to align yourself with people that are aligned with you. You want to give your resources in what I call your TAMI, time, attention, money, effort, and energy. Those are what you can spend, your time, attention, money, effort, and energy. You want to give those to people that appreciate it. You want to give those to people and to communities that you can actually make an impact in. And if you want to change the world, that's great, but I think it's a cop-out. I want to change the world. We'll start with one person, change one person, then maybe change 5 people, and then maybe 10 people. And you know what? If you become really good at it, maybe you'll impact thousands, maybe you'll impact millions. And the people that are out trying to change the world or saying it are really often not the people that do. It's the ones that are just doing the things that they're built to do, and they're really, it's not about winning friends and influencing people. It's about winning the right friends and influencing the right people, and having the giver attitude. And so, put up boundaries to takers, spend your time with givers, spend your time with people that are reciprocal, and be the best version of you, but take care of yourself, because you can't fix the world with broken hands. And if you want to be an amazing doctor, be amazing to yourself. That's first and foremost.
And there's like so many tweetables and truth bombs and meditations and things to unpack. Everything you're saying is like, my whole body is like literally vibrating because it's resonating with me. And one thing I want everyone to take away from this is compassion, right? Because sometimes our patients come to us and we're frustrated. Like, why can't this person just give up the gluten or the sugar or the dairy or the thing that they need to change? And the reason is because what they're actually seeking, as Joe said, is comfort. They're doing something to bury or drown out a pain that they're experiencing. So if we as practitioners can have empathy and compassion towards that, then we can actually get to the root cause and or get them the help that they need. We may not be that therapist or that person that helps them unlock that, but we have a moral obligation to them if we do find that that's the case. So
Yeah.
you wrote an amazing book. You've written many, right? Life Gives to the Giver, one of my favorites, and you live by that. This is like you in a nutshell. And the other one, which very similar, which is What's in It for Them. So I bought this book for about 170 of my best clients, because I want them to hear what you have to say in this book, and it really is how you live. I remember, I'll share a story because I think it expresses how generous you are. So I met Joe for the first time in person. I doubt he even remembers it, because there was a swarm of people that surrounded him after a talk he did in Toronto. And I just like, I mean, I would imagine that if you were in person right now, everyone who would run up to Joe right afterwards, thank him profusely for what he just shared. Yeah, it would be all of us, right? So virtually we can give him a hug or just show our love and appreciation for him. But that's exactly why I ran to the back, and you were offering an online course. It was and I took it. I bought it right away. Got a picture of you. You were so generous to take that picture with me. And I said, one day I want to hang out with him more. I want to join his Genius Network. So it became very aspirational for me. When I joined, it was like literally a dream come true. And I imagine it's like that for many people who join your community, because you have to apply. You don't just get in, right? It takes more than a check to make it. And so I then, a few years later, fast forward, I was giving a talk in Arizona, and another Genius Network member, Charles Poliquin. Many of you might know Charles Poliquin, the late great Charles Poliquin, just an amazing strength coach. And he had me come in and do a talk on neurotransmitters. And I guess he invited Joe, and I had no idea Joe was going to be there. And I walk in the room and I'm like, what the hell? That's Joe Follish. What's he doing here? And he was so kind and just so generous. And he literally took us all out for lunch. And I wasn't expecting him to pay, but pulled out his wallet, paid for all of us, and just had an amazing, beautiful lunch with him. And then afterwards, he told his assistant Eunice, I don't know if you remember this, Joe, but he's like, I want you to give Sachin access to the last 3 years of all the Genius Network recordings. And I was like, oh my God, like that's like $75,000 worth of recordings, probably, well, actually worth way more than that because of all the value that's in there. And I was like, man, he barely knew me, right? But he's so generous, right? So, what I've learned from people like him, and him in particular, is that generosity is something that builds a bridge in our relationships. It's something that enables us to express gratitude towards others. And you just never really know how that's going to change somebody's life. And the downstream effect of that, Joe, is that it gave me permission to be more generous, and it inspired me to be even more generous and to be the most generous person and version of myself that I can possibly be. So that's part of why we do this event for free. It's not because there isn't value here. It's not because it doesn't cost us money, but it's because I want to be generous with my knowledge, and I want to, bring people here that normally you'd have to pay thousands of dollars to hear speak. But it's that generosity that, he's expressing towards our friendship and to all of you, and, just living that embodiment. And so you've inspired me in probably more ways than I could ever express. If I had to tell you every time you inspired me, I'd be texting you on a regular basis, even more regularly than I do now. So thank you for being such a role model for each and every one of us. And, in the What's in It for Them book, you talk about so many things. Funny story, I sent you a video a few weeks ago when I was in Costa Rica listening to the audiobook. And in the video, I said, man, I hope I don't crash this car while I'm driving and doing this video. And I literally ended up on the wrong side of the road. I never told you this, but I was thanking him so profusely because we got through the audiobook, Deepa and I, and it was just so amazing. So if you don't have a copy of What's in It for Them, the Audible version is wonderful. If you could listen to Joe talk all day, the Audible version is amazing. And you spent a lot of time in the studio recording that, didn't you?
Anyone that's ever had to record their own audiobook, and this is not written by AI. This is like, we now have AI systems that you can literally model your voice and help you write books and all that. Although this is full blown. I spent 2 years on this book and went through every line of it, 6 times. I mean, I really wanted it to be not a timely book, but a timeless book, so that when I'm long gone, hopefully generations from now, people will still read my book, and the principles will still be useful and helpful for them with connecting. Yeah, anyone that's recorded an audiobook, it is a pain in the butt, but I like it when authors read their own books. I like their own voice because there's just something that goes along with it. But yeah, and look, Sachin, being helpful, I don't do that with everyone. I do that for people that I feel a real energetic, good connection, or I see them demonstrate care. What my book really is for. People often say, why'd you write your book? And you'll hear these authors say, oh, because I just wanted to share my gifts with the world and give back and all that nonsense. Certainly we hope that happens if we write a book. We want people to like it. We want people to find it valuable. I wrote the book, though, so I could actually learn what the hell was I doing in my life that has worked, and what are the cautionary tales that didn't work. Where did I do stupid things? Where did I step in the pitfalls? And so the book is really for givers to be better boundaried givers, so that they don't give their energy to people that will use and abuse them. Because Zig Ziglar has that famous line, you can get anything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. But my friend Martin Howie came to Genius Network probably a decade ago, and he said, there's some lines that people say that we take as truth, but you have to really question them. You can help other people get what they want, that many won't do a damn thing for you, and some will use you and abuse you and betray you. And that is true. So it's about selecting who to give your energy to, because getting results, and this is a line from my friend Dan Sullivan, getting results doesn't take time. It's the not getting results that takes up all your time. And if you give your time, attention, money, effort, and energy, this is what chapter 2 of my book is about, Tammy. I don't call it Tammy in the book, but I just use that as a reference point. TAMEE, time, attention, money, effort, and energy. If you give your Tammy to the wrong people, they will take advantage of you. And the unfortunate thing is if you're an amazing giver, if you really operate, life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. That's one of my books. You'll get more if and only if you become selective and develop your spidey senses of who to give the giver energy to. If you become a doormat, if you just give with no discretion, and the problem is you don't learn that until you actually get hurt. See what comedy in life is. So I want everyone to think about an experience in their life that they can look back on now and laugh their ass off about it. But when it happened, you were suicidal, or you were like so depressed, or you thought life was over, but now you can look back at it and it's funny, So what is comedy? It's pain plus time equals comedy. That's what comedy is. And if you look at some of the funniest comedians, some of them have had really dark lives. And most humor is developed out of pain. Most businesses, I guarantee you, more than 75% of all the health practitioners that are here right now with you, Sachin, part of this are because they are a convert of their own system. They had to figure out some very painful part of being sick or being ill or being challenged. And what's funny is people try to make all this pain go away by drugging themselves and avoiding it, when pain is the biggest messenger. Pain is like a big neon sign that says, pay attention, pay attention. There's an opportunity here, because wherever there's anxiety, there's opportunity. And so, my book, I wrote it really so I could figure out what the hell did I do right and what did I do wrong, and how do I present it in a way that could be helpful to people to save them from stepping in some of the potholes, and how to better boundary themselves. Because right now, man, the world needs real leaders that are caring and compassionate. Think about the role models that some young people have right now. They're looking at politicians. They're looking at certain people that are leading companies and organizations that are despicable in what they are doing, that are lying through their teeth, and they're rich and they're famous. Like, what does that say to a young, impressionable person? I don't need to have integrity. I don't need to care that much. I'm just going to be an arrogant asshole. I'm going to lie to people, and I'm going to get to the highest ranks of society. And, that's not how I believe life works. I believe life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. And if you spend your life making withdrawals from other people and exploiting people, there will come a point in time that you will pay the price, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, maybe with your freedom, if you have any freedom. And, people that profit from the crime are guilty of it. So my whole thing is produce more than you consume. And here's my thing of who becomes my friend, because people are always like, how do you have so many relationships? So I have a lot of relationships, but there's a few core people that are my dear friends, my dear close friends. And how I determine that is not by their, social status. It's by how are people that are more powerful treat people that are less powerful than them. Some of the greatest heroes in the world are hospice nurses. They're people that are single mothers that are working multiple jobs. They're people that are landscapers and gardeners and amazing humans that just care and they love people and they don't have an agenda. And it's, it's people that pursue growth, not status. I mean, I'll say that over and over again, because it's really seductive to get caught up in external validation. And I'm very aware as a book author and a speaker, almost everyone that puts themselves out there publicly wants the world to like them. They want external validation. They want applause. I like it when people make like my ideas and say good things about me and nice things about me. That should happen. If you are having wonderful testimonials, if you're a good person putting out good work into the world, people should say good things about you. It's not like you're so magical. And I love it when people do that, but I also have to check myself so I don't wreck myself and say, yeah, I have low self-esteem. I have low self-worth. I, feel like shit at times. I have to make amends to people when I say the wrong things or do the wrong stuff. And, I've spent over 20 years in recovery, and I've done awful shit in my life, mostly to myself. Thank God, I've made amends to every living person that I'm aware of that I've hurt to the best of my abilities. I follow the 12-step analogy of, one of the steps is make amends whenever possible, except when to do so would injure yourself or others. And the problem with being a human is we always think we're right. And it takes a tremendous amount of awareness to be like, maybe I'm not right here. Maybe I need to, so I really try to listen to other people and have people that are willing in a compassionate, caring way to call me out when I'm being an idiot and to give them permission to call me out when I'm being an idiot. I make mistakes all the time. I hope to look back at this 10 years from now and say, I remember I was talking to Sasha, and it was April and it was 2023. And I said something to a group of, over 300 and something people live. Who knows how many will watch the recordings of this. And maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I was, kind of full of myself in that one particular moment. And I do try to carry that with me all the time. And if I, I'm always questioning what I know and what I learn. And I always want to be aware of, I want to guide and direct people. I want to be open. I want to be present. And I want to care, but I also give myself permission to make mistakes. And almost everyone here, you have goals and aspirations. What do humans want? They want more woo and less ah. That's what we want, like more woo. So people will do all kinds of things to pursue woo, but a lot of those things create ah. And so to be a response, like for instance, getting into a cold plunge and a sauna, which I do almost every day now. Initially, it's hard. Like the when you first get into it, but the woo that comes from it, just like exercise. Most people don't build successful businesses because they're not willing to work through the burn. And we have to be willing to work through the burn of our life. And that's not just like, if you're going to lift weights, you're going to be sore if you haven't lifted weights in a long time for the first couple of weeks. And most people won't work through the burn. And I know the people that are here that are building businesses are having to work through different levels of burns in all particular areas of your life. Do that with good intentions, with the most amazing people. Treat yourself like the $1 Million Racehorse, and every person that is investing their time. And since you're giving this away for free, you're leading with a what's in it for them attitude. And if people like what you're sharing here, guess what? They may want to join up with you. They may want to buy things from you. And in the same thing here, I mean, people are like, how do I build a business? Like, well, give people a lot of woo and they'll keep coming back for more woo. And if you are getting a lot of ah, then you may want, is that ah really bad? I mean, how many people have gone to a personal trainer that they don't really like, but they like the consequences? I don't really like working out, but not working out is worse than if I do. So I've learned to love the consequences, not, I don't like traveling. I like the destination. But in order to get to the destination, you got to put up with all the crap with traveling. And so there are certain things that, you know, pain is a really interesting thing. The first chapter of my book is Be a Pain Detective. And one of the best places to connect with yourself and others is, what are your own internal pains that you're ignoring or you're numbing? What are they trying to tell you? And all of the pain that's in the world, if you have the ability to transform that pain, I've one of the, I actually can't see it here. I'll take my screen off and let me show you this. Choose virtual background, let's say none. So I'm sitting in the Big Genius Network room, and there's one of these signs on the wall back here that says, see, it's right there. You can barely see it. It's this right up here. It says, other people's bad news is your good news. And that's a quote from Dan Sullivan. Mm-hmm. And what that basically means is almost all money is made transforming other people's bad news into good news. If you're hungry, that's bad news. But if you can go get food, that's good news. If you break your ankle, that's bad news. If someone could help you with that broken ankle, a doctor, that's good news. If you're bored, that's bad news. If you can go to a movie or you can do something entertaining, that's good news. If you're tired, that's bad news. If you can go to sleep, that's good news, right? So making money is solving problems for a profit. Problems and pain are the ingredients that help you transform life constantly. And if you are one of those people that becomes a pain detective, really connects with people, can become a, like I have a domino behind me, big giant domino, big giant domino, right? And I end each chapter of my book with the dominoes, which are like exercises that people can easily do. But the analogy though is, who's, you know, I bet you this series that you're doing for everyone right now, they will have heard something that will be a domino in their life. They'll heard a quote, they'll heard a recommendation, a link, an insight, a philosophy, a viewpoint, a perspective, and it will change the trajectory of their life. Everyone has read a book that has changed the trajectory of their life or met someone. So to everyone that's here, who's been a domino in your life to you? What are the things that you've learned that have been a domino? Can you listen to not just me, if I'm useful in any way to anyone, or anyone that, anything that Sachin says, or any of the guests that he has here, write down the dominoes and say, if I actually go with this, it could actually change the trajectory of my life. And how do you keep stacking more dominoes? And how do you become that to other people? And when you have some free time today, write down, 5 to 8 people that are part of your genius network. They're people that are amazing. They could be friends, family, spouses, kids, loved ones, teachers, mentors, dead or alive. If they are alive, just send them a message, a voice text, a video, an audio, handwrite a letter and say, thank you. I love you. You're awesome. Because oftentimes people ignore the most important, valuable relationships in their life because that whole line, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Well, the squeaky wheel should get replaced. Squeaky wheels are a pain in the ass. Okay, replace the squeaky wheels and spend your time on the people that actually care about you and love you. Spend your time, you can, my late friend Dave Kekich said, an hour of integrated, precise, disciplined, hard thinking can be worth a month of hard work. You can literally come up with a multi-million-dollar business in the span of 10 minutes, an hour, a day, a week, or you can squander months or years of your life on bullshit. So the thing is, what are the dominoes? Listen for the dominoes, be the first domino, acknowledge the first domino, and life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. What's in it for them? Be a great giver to other people, but to the right people. Align yourself with people that want to align themselves with you. Connect with real connectors. Be careful of connectors. There are a lot of people that they connect with people by conning them. And then there's true connection. And then the final riff I'll say here on this on this part is, we all have wants. No one would show up here if they didn't want something. They want to make more money. They want to have better clients. They want to have better insight on building their practice. They want to learn something about health, whatever is the reasons that you're here. You want to meet other people. You want to, whatever it is, everyone has a want. Like, I want to eat lunch here in a little bit because I'm in Arizona and it's 1:15 and I've not eaten lunch today. But I will after this session, right? But here's the thing. So we all want something. from everybody. We want something. The people we're married to, we want our kids to do something. Our kids want something. That's great. We're a whole planet of wanters. Make sure that your give is equal to or greater than your want. And if you show up with people with a give that's equal or greater to than your want, guess what? They're going to want to hang out with you. They're going to want to buy from you, because the people that we like and appreciate are people that are givers, not takers. And if you think of who texts you on your phone, or who calls you, and you look at it, and some people you say, oh, you just kind of cringe when you're getting a message, or other people, you're so excited to hear from them. And I tell people to gauge, be the type of person you want to answer the phone for. And if you owe them money and you're cringing, they're not the asshole. You're the one being an asshole. Maybe you need to say, hey, I'll pay you back, or let me make amends to you, or whatever. But you can look at your phone and you can gauge who are the givers and who are the takers in your life. And so be the type of person you always want to answer the phone for, and make sure that your give is greater than your want. And if you operate that way in business, as a doctor, as a practitioner, as a parent, as a lover, as a friend, you don't need to be a magician. You just need to be aware, and you can recalculate stuff, and you can transform your life with just a 5% increase of increasing your connection. If you are more connected with the people that care about you by 5%, not by double, not by taking massive action. Tony Robbins is a friend of mine, and he's take massive action. Frankly, that's not how most of this works. It's tiny little actions. You don't need to be dramatic. You just need to develop and be consistent and be more aware, and you can transform your life, and you can transform the lives of other people. And it's a consistent thing. And you've been a first domino for so many people, Sasha. I mean, you really are a gem of a human. I'm not just saying this because you're here. You have an aura around you. You're a really caring dude. You're a really awesome human. And so it's nice when people say things and acknowledge me. And I love that edification. I also want to share it right back. I wouldn't be doing this on a Saturday for most people. But you're awesome. And I know you had a timeline here, and I wanted to be helpful and contribute, because you're always offering. You'll call me up and offer things to me related to health, issues that, like gut issues, an example, stuff I don't normally talk about. You've been instrumental in helping me in areas of my life where I'm messed up in my sleep, or I'm screwed up here. You're a smart doctor. You're a great guy, so those are the people we hang out with. You become friends with people that are awesome. And those are the people that I want to learn from. I'm just as much of a student for you, and you're as much of a mentor to me. So it's a mutual thing.
Wow. Thank you. I received that. And I greatly, greatly appreciate that. Well, I want you to get lunch, because I know how important that first meal is. And I know that we had you on until 4. So I thank you for sticking around a little bit longer, and appreciate you for being flexible. I think that's an important entrepreneurial trait as well, is being flexible when you can be, of course.
Yes.
And you've shared so many nuggets here. Like there's so much to unpack. I know people have taken tons of notes, and there's literally 354 conversations and presentations that are happening simultaneously as you speak. So what I would love for people to do is share what their big aha moment was. And as you're doing that, Joe, I would love for you to share a little bit more about the book and the QR code that you've got posted there. Where does that take people, and what action step would you like?
Well, if anyone likes anything I've had to say and you want to hear more from me, then get my book. All of the proceeds of the book go to my foundation, which is geniusrecovery.org, which is a 501c3. And we do invest the money wisely in helping with an educational platform for addiction. So it takes people to what'sinitforthem.com. what'sinitforthem.com. And if someone just doesn't want to buy my book, you can get My Life Gives to the Giver for free at joesfreebook.com. And that's what it does. And if anyone is struggling with addiction, just go to geniusrecovery.org. We don't charge for anything. It's just an educational platform for resources and videos and interviews with smart people like my buddy Gabor Mate and, different individuals. And what's in it for them? You can get my audio also on Audible or wherever audios are sold. And that's pretty much my spiel for that. And
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to put it on gallery mode on my end so I can see all the beautiful faces, and you all know what to do. Let's show Joe some love. Let's clap for him and show our gratitude and our appreciation.
Gallery also. Yeah. And by the way, there's a lot of comments that people made. I'm so sorry that I could not respond to that. I'm one of those people that can't be present totally and then read the comments at the same time, but I will I will save them and I will read through them. And I very much appreciate it. And I wish everyone just an awesome life. And whenever you're feeling shitty, feelings are not facts. Just because you feel crappy doesn't mean things are crappy. And just because you feel good don't mean things are good. So as my late friend Dave Kekich said, things are seldom as good as they seem when they're going well, or seldom as bleak as they seem when they're going wrong. Lighten up, you'll live longer. So spend some time laughing and have super happy fun days and stay around awesome people and go deep with everything that Sachin recommends, because he's a good guy that I cannot endorse higher to help guide and direct people. And he does walk the walk and talk the talk better than anyone I know in this space. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So grateful, and so much love for you. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for being such a wonderful role model to me. And now I think you've gained another 300 plus fans of what you do. So thank you for spreading your love and light with the world. And hey, let's keep changing the world, helping people through more compassion and understanding, and helping them get to the root of their pain and removing it so they can be liberated and live an amazing life, which is what you want for us and we want for all of our clients. So thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.